Hello there, welcome to the COM, the new collaborative projects by Espresso Global and Ukrainian media. I'm Elena Solodovnikova, and it's a privilege to me to welcome Gary Tabah, a retired US Army officer and military expert. Hello, Gary.
Hello, Alina. Thank you very much for inviting me. Just a little correction, I'm a retired naval officer.
Yes, thanks for clarifying.
It's understandable because in Ukraine and in Russia, army represents military, but in the West, army represents only land forces.
Okay.
Air forces, and Navy is sea forces.
Okay. I would like to start with your overview on what the Ukraine-Russian war has led to in the second year of the full-scale escalation, and your focus of how the situation will develop. And as you know, the Polish farmers are blocking the border, and the government cannot do nothing about it. Who organized the protests? Useful ideas or the ears of Russian special services? It's worth to mention in the case of the tractor with the red flag with the Soviet symbols. Have you seen it?
Well, you'll have you can't blame everything on the Russian special forces. They're not that good. Sometimes we are, or quite often, we are our own worst enemy. And as Admiral Oliver Perry once said, that we have seen the enemy and he is us. So sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And I don't know the details of what is going on at the Polish-Ukrainian border. It would be unprofessional of me to comment on it. The only thing I can say that there are no best friend for Ukraine than Poland. They were the first ones that extended their help, opened up their borders. They took in 10 million refugees, women and children. I was there. They set up refugee camps. People took Ukrainians into their homes. I personally had an honor to serve with the Polish forces for 4 years. I was stationed in Poland, being part of the team that was transferring Poles into the NATO standards, transferring ships and F-16s to Poland, anti-missile defenses, and so forth. They're your best friends, and whatever happened at the border, whatever is going on, it is definitely not a very good job of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's something wrong. Ministry of Foreign Affairs should deal with those issues. They should make friends with Poles, regardless of what is going on. Poles are your friends. Your neighbors on the other side are your friends. Russians are the enemy. Because there was somebody there with a flag, there are crazies everywhere. There's some lunatic always will show up and do something crazy. There will always be a lunatic on 6th of January or provocations with such things. So we would discuss, with a MAGA hat trying to scream and run in the charge or break something in the Capitol building. Then we find out that these people are just provocateurs. We have recently.
Sorry, could I interrupt you? Because in many cases, post factum, we do understand that these provocators was paid by Russians.
Maybe, they are paid by. The problem at the border is not created by the Russians. The problem is at the border, from what I understand. Again, I'm not an expert. Is created by the oligarchs, by the few irresponsible, greedy people in Ukraine and in Poland. The ones that are using farmers, the ones that are using truckers, the ones that are using working people, and the ones that are using the very, very bad and situation and suffering people of Ukraine. And you always have those two. It's the government should deal with them, should deal with those few monopoly players and get rid of them. Put them in prison. Take their somebody's making a lot of money off of it. Who is it? I'm sure we know who it is. I don't think there's that many of them. And it's always been a rumor that there is a mafia in the grain business that exists. So, and during the war, these people don't have any conscience or anything like that. But again, those single, flare-ups of some crazies, I wouldn't pay attention. I mean, it's like recently we had an airman, a military guy in uniform, burn himself to death in front of the Israeli embassy, screaming "Free Palestine."
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
who paid him? Who paid him to do that? I mean, to do. I know it doesn't, but I'm sure it will happen to Ukraine too. The idea is, I will divert a little bit. I mean, what was in the head of this guy? I mean, he probably was ill, probably was not well, but still, I mean, why didn't he burn himself in front of the Russian embassy saying, "Stop killing in Ukraine"? What, so all this brainwashing, all these, why are these people attacking Russian embassy or attacking White House with the Ukrainian flags, screaming, help, give weapons to Ukraine, stopping the weapons in Ukraine. There with the Palestinian flags attacking the White House. So somebody is brainwashing. These people are brainwashing. There's this whole mass media dealing with it. I mean, Gaza, Israelis did not attack Palestinians, did not kill people at the concert calling for peace and raping women and shoving grenades in their vaginas and dragging them through the streets. Probably this guy, if he would have showed up there in an American uniform, they would have probably cut his head off and were dragging him through the streets. But yet he's screaming for. Ukrainians don't do that. Ukrainians didn't attack Russia. Russians are conducting a genocide here. Where are all the protests against Russians? Where are all the demands in the free world against Russia? No, it's against Israel for Palestine. This is how they diverted the attention.
Yes, they changed the focus. They changed the focus of attention.
Yeah.
And by the way, Vladislav,
I blame the mass media. The mass media is a key to that.
Probably, unfortunately. And by the way, Vladislav Sikorskiy told that in case that the US didn't get money support for Ukraine, Poland will develop nuclear power. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's not only Ukraine. Again, why is he saying that? Because of the Budapest Accord, of the Budapest Memorandum. I'm sorry, Budapest Memorandum, where we, the United States, Great Britain, European Union, some other countries, even China, signed a memorandum saying that if Ukrainians, Belarusians, and Kazakhstanis give up their nuclear weapons to the Russians, we assure, not guarantee, there is no word guarantee there, we assure that their borders will be protected. One of the countries that actually received this nuclear weapons and airplanes and other missiles, it wasn't just nuclear weapons, they attacked Ukraine. They attacked the country. They assured that they weren't going to do that. So all these, then NATO is not reacting in any way. I mean, this is the third year of the war started. There is no help. By and large, there is no help from the United States or from European Union. I mean, there is some, but it's very, very minimal. It's minimal. And NATO is not functioning. I'll give you an example. When the war started, my son and his team called the Yes Theory, this is kids that have followers, millions of followers. They came to Poland. They collected money. They raised $1 million within a few days. They bought 500 generators. They got the cell phones. I have a video on it. They bought like meal cards to the refugees. They were handing them all out in a few days. A year later, NATO said they were going to provide 300 generators to Ukraine. NATO, 300 generators to Ukraine. Right now, Czech Republic saying they have 1 million rounds for artillery rounds, but they can't get $1.5 billion. The whole world, the whole free world cannot collect $1.5 billion to get Ukrainians 1 million rounds. Russians have no such problem. So, of course, all these countries realized nobody's going to come to their help. Israel realized it very early on. They said, okay, nobody's going to defend Jews. We know that. We're going to have to defend ourselves. Yeah, America will help. These will help. It depends when. In the beginning, Stalin helped a little bit, Soviet Union, then America helped a little bit, then this and that, then Germany, because they felt guilty, gave us a couple of weapons, but we can't. We have to develop our own. We have to defend it. Nobody's going to defend us. No one. Ukrainians have learned this also now, I think, and their neighbors, Poles, Bulgarians, Hungarians, they all, they realize that, yeah, they're in a NATO country, but is anybody really going to go help them? We're going to go start a nuclear war over Vilnius or Tallinn. I mean, they don't trust. NATO is not trusted, and people countries are not paying into it. So NATO is not going to come and rescue you as well. I think it's another dream that is being sold to Ukrainians. Like right now they're saying, oh, they're frozen 300 billion Russian dollars, and Ukrainians are going to get it. They're not going to get it. It's another fake, another dream sold to Ukrainian public. Oh, we have artillery coalition now, rounds coalition. We had air coalition with F-16s now. We have hundreds of F-16s now that we're going to destroy in the United States. We have millions of cluster bombs that we can't use, but we won't give it to Ukrainians. We have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of tanks sitting in our deserts, artillery pieces. We won't give it. We have Humvees that are already taken off of our military stock and sitting, tens of thousands of those Humvees are sitting in Europe. Yet we volunteers keep buying these Bandera mobiles, these pickup trucks that are old and dilapidated, and sending them to Ukraine so the soldiers can at least, transport something on the front. That's, you see the videos on YouTube. Any video you're watching, there is some unit asking for help. So there's no way to win a war like that. They're asking to help to buy a pickup truck, to buy repair equipment.
Yes,
there should be land-based.
Yep. We're very thankful for volunteers for that. But if I'm not mistaken, you say that Israeli Minister Nitanyahu had a tough conversation with Biden last time. And after the tough conversation, Israel got some military assistance from the USA. And can Ukraine afford such tone of voice speaking with the USA and under what conditions?
Well, Israel has a different standard with the USA. It's considered to be a close ally of US and NATO. So they have there's more obligation to protect them. So he told the president, you can't do that. He says to President Biden, no matter how much they hate each other, you can't do that. So Biden had to give in to what is authorized already for a long time. It's called prepositioning. Ukraine doesn't have that standing. Ukraine has been trying to get the standing to be a close ally of the United States and NATO. The only thing that's required for it is for president to sign such thing. For president said, okay, I now pronounce Ukraine, and here's the document, to be our close ally, our and NATO's close ally. That can be done by the president of the United States. He's not doing it. He is not doing it. So therefore, of course, the voice of Ukraine is not that strong, but it should be. And unfortunately, again, mass media is not doing this. Mass media is blaming everyone else. Trump, who is a superhero. He has superpowers. He can control our entire Congress by telling them what to vote for, what not to vote for. I mean, he has probably some influence, but he can't tell congressmen or Congress what to vote for or not. It's ridiculous. The same way we can say, why isn't Mark Zuckerberg, who's more money than Trump and has more media control, why doesn't he tell Congress how to vote? Or Gates. I mean, we have a lot of people that have a lot of, Soros. A lot of Trump somehow controls our Congress, controls the world, conspiracy. And it's being bought, and he's not letting them vote, and so Ukraine doesn't, but then Ukraine tries to play up. Again, I think it's a foreign affairs, a Ministry of Foreign Affairs weakness. They should demand. They should have demanded lend-lease. American people, American public, through Congress by supermajority voted for lend-lease. President signed it into law on the 9th of May, and yet he has done nothing on it. And now there is no lend-lease. They cut it short, and now there is no lend-lease. Ukrainians should have demanded it to exercise the willpower, to exercise their right, American right, for the president to execute what the American public wanted, American people wanted, and they wanted lend-lease for Ukraine. We stood in front of White House and demanding it. Unfortunately, many of us were pointed out as enemies of the Ukraine because we were demanding and pushing our president to give weapons. But first of all, we as Americans have that right, regardless of Ukraine or not. We have a right to demand that our president executes as an executive power our will, our demand, which was signed into the American law, regardless of what it is, gay rights, free education, whatever. If it's a law, it's a law, and we want our president to execute it. Yes, he has, he can veto it, or he can not do that. That's his power. But he didn't do it. Now they're saying, it's not being, the vote is not going in. If I ask you that package that our Congress is not putting through, again, the Republicans are being blamed for it, which is absolutely not true. Do you know what's in that law for the Ukraine? Does anyone know? I ask every journalist. I said, Dina, can you tell me in that law that you all want the Congress to vote for help for Ukraine? Do you know what it is there? Nobody does.
I know that this package is not only that Ukraine, but that except of Ukraine, there is Afghanistan and Palestine, yeah, or not?
Yeah, Palestine there's also Israel, there's also Taiwan, and there is also...
Probably
the package is not...
That is a problem that they make the one big package,
right,
not only for Ukraine.
It's a big problem. It's a problem for Republicans. Republicans saying we don't want to vote for Palestine. We don't want to vote for Gaza. We know it's going to go to terrorists. We don't, and then they're saying $60 billion for Ukraine, supposedly. What is it for? How many rounds? How many guns? How many roads? How many education on gender education money is going to go to? What is the 60 billion for? How are they going to be spent? We want to know, because we already put, between 120 to, depends how you calculate, 150, 200, some people say $1 billion into Ukraine in 2 years. And the result, now you're saying, okay, let's put 60 billion more. What's in it? What's the plan? Again, if you're going to send them nothing, and it's going to be all in the future, and it's going to be old tanks or old artillery pieces, that's not going to work, and it's not enough. But yet there's money for Israel, and there's money for Gaza. So Republicans saying, let's vote one separately, not in a package. Democrats are saying, no, we have to vote in the package. Although some, it's not all, some Republicans are willing to vote for that package as it is. Some Democrats don't want to vote for that package as it is. They also want it separate. The main problem in it is that the package called not help for Ukraine, not assistance to Ukraine. It's called security for the United States.
Oh.
So most of the Republicans are saying, if it's a security for the United States, then there should be a border, southern border of the United States that is open. It's not secure. So we should secure the border, but it is not in a package. So the border is open. So they're saying, if you want us to vote, then you have to put security for the border in it. So they put something in it there, but still 5,000 illegal immigrants can come through every day. It's, they can just illegal. I mean, I don't even understand how illegal immigrants, refugees can come legally across our border, 5,000 a day. That's 2 million a year. And that's anybody who's older than 18, younger than 18 can come. How do you check their age? I have no idea. Many of them look very young. But in any event, it's not on a package. So this is the problem. But my problem with Ukrainians, I ask every Ukrainian, do you know what that 60 billion is? What's in those 60 billion? Nobody knows. Just give us 60 billion. Just give us 60 billion. Give us $1 million. Give us $2 million. Give us $1 million. Give us millions. Do you know what are you going to spend those millions on? We don't. Just give us the millions. No, you have to see how much money allocated for what. There's basically nothing there for Ukraine, not for right now. They can order some of the stuff later on, some of it for right.
I have a feeling that, in my opinion, that the West has chosen the strategy of deterring Russia, and Ukraine may become a purgatory for many years as a result. And what do you think? Can Ukraine repeat the Afghanistan fate, for example? We will stay face to face with our problems.
Of course, it can be. But if West wanted to deter Russia, they would have given Ukrainians weapons. There was no need. But instead, they didn't give much. They didn't give anything. As a matter of fact, President Biden said if it's a small invasion, it's okay. But if it's a large invasion, yeah, then there would be. So he was telling Putin he can come in. Took our embassy away from Ukraine, not from Kyiv, but from Ukraine. We have never done it anywhere, not even in Afghanistan, not even during World War II from Russia. Our embassy always remained during World War II in Russia. So, took our fleet away from Black Sea, said no development on federal lands of oil and gas, put sanctions on our northern stream, from Canada, and lifted the sanctions off of the Russian northern stream. So oil prices went up and Russians could organize. So if they wanted to deter, they wouldn't have done any of this. They sacrificed Ukraine to the Russians. That's what it looks more like to me. But again, let me say this. If they wanted to deter Russia right now, why is everybody in Ukraine on United States, me, to vote against myself, against Israel, give $10 billion to Palestinians, to Gaza, to Hamas, in a sense? It will all end up in Hamas. We all know that. If Ukraine would have gotten half of what Gaza gotten over the years from United States, from Europe, from United Nations, Ukraine would have been already like the richest country in the world and would have deterred Russians and beaten them. But no, not to Ukraine, to Gaza. So you want me to vote for that against myself? And yet I don't know what Ukraine is going to get. But even if I would know what Ukraine is going to get, if they want to deter Russia, why doesn't the president of the United States give $4.2 billion that they're sitting in the Pentagon that is already allocated to Ukraine, Ukrainian money, not United States money anymore? This is the money that was supposed to come to Ukraine 2 years, within 2 years, last 2 years. But somehow there was a miscalculation in the Pentagon and you were shortened $6 billion. So now there are $4.2 billion still remaining of that money, but the White House is not releasing it. Why? If you want to deter and you want to save Ukrainian lives and you want to give them that money, it's their money. Plus, the president has $20 billion at his exposure that he can give to Ukraine at any time. Why does he want that 60 billion that has to be voted in right now? Because Ukraine is being destroyed, as they're saying. But you have Ukrainian money, give them the money back. So they're now trying to deter your attention that you're going to get $300 billion of Russian frozen money. You're not going to get that. There's no system to do that. This is absolutely another fake that's being. If you ever get that money or part of that money, and the whole financial world finances restructured because of that, so the trust is not lost. It'll be years from now. You should get it for reparations and all that stuff, but you're not going to get it now. But you need now. And there is money right now in Europe and in the United States that belong to Ukraine, but yet they're not giving it. They're saying the Czech Republic found 1 million rounds, but they need $1.5 billion to buy. They can't. The whole Europe can't find $1.5 billion. So you can get those rounds right now, which you need so much. You need artillery pieces. You need the armor. You need aviation. Still no F-16s. Still no air power. Still the sky is not closed. We were asking to close the skies in the beginning of the war so children would not die, so the cities will not be destroyed. No, that was refused.
What do you think about that? Zelensky officially make a statement that we lost 3,000 soldiers officially, at least at the war. Why he did make the statement right now?
I don't know. I don't know how politicians think and why they do what they do. I can only tell from my experience that it is best to tell the truth to the public, to trust your people, to trust them and say, yes, we're in danger. Yes, there's going to be an attack. Yes, those territories could be occupied. Maybe you should evacuate. Make your own decisions. We trust the public. Not to say 2-3 weeks, it's all going to be over. Russians are out of weapons. They have no missiles. 2-3 weeks, all over. We're going to win, and lend lease is coming. We're going to have all these weapons. We have enough weapons. We don't need lend lease. All these lies giving false hope, knowing that I don't think it's good. I think it's best to look at the Israelis. They tell the truth. They say, we're in danger. We're going to be attacked, but we got to stick together. We have no choice. And all the not all, but many Israelis pack up from the United States, from Canada, from Germany, from Ukraine, and they all fly there. 300,000 in the first day flew back to Israel, reservists.
But that is a small difference between Israel and Ukraine, because we didn't have gain to strike Russian targets officially, and how we can gain the right to strike Russian targets officially, like in Israel.
Officially, if you're attacked, you should officially attack back.
But unofficially.
regardless where the target. I mean, you want to officially die or you want to unofficially live. I will quote Golda Meir. It is best for people to hate us for protecting ourselves than for people send us sympathy cards because we're eliminated in Auschwitz. So I don't know what officially is. You should defend yourself and protect your population and trust your population. Trust them with weapons. Trust your population with truth, harsh but truth. You see that Israelis are reporting all the death, every time the soldier gets killed, they announce it. The same thing we do. We try to trust our public when there is a war, like a Vietnam war. We're showing some of it worked against us, some of it worked for us. But at the end, I think the truth is always the best. I mean, I know a lot of people will not agree with me, but I'm a military guy, and I think that if you're not telling the truth, a lot of people are going to die because they expect something else. They expect that, they're sitting home, they don't evacuate, they don't protect themselves, they don't organize into things. And those people who are trying to blame this provocateurs or blame this setting panic into the public. I mean, yeah, there's danger in all of those things. But again, Ukrainians have no choice. Ukrainians right now are in grave danger. And if the world doesn't wake up, if we don't stand up and say, even at our own risk, I'm here in Ukraine saying those things. I'm not very popular right now, but I'm saying, hey, picture is not as nice as you're being painted. It has never been that nice as you're being painted. As soon as you started to advance in the Kharkiv and Kherson region, we cut the help. As soon as there was disturbance in Russia with a Prigozhin and a Wagner group, our head of our State Department, Mr. Blinken, said that he warned Ukrainians not to attack Russians, let Russia stabilize. I don't think anybody could fight the war like that. And yet, again, shortage of everything. It was Poles who were the first ones that said, we're going to, right in the beginning of the war, they were going to give MiGs to Ukrainians, but the White House said no. It was all these countries that were willing to help Ukraine right away, but the White House said no. We're going to have coalition. We're going to have Ramstein 1, Ramstein 2. We're going to promise all those things. We're going to have American headquarters in Ukraine that were run by an American general. You don't remember those things. All these things were said that it was going to happen. On TV, the reporters were reporting this. That's it. 2-3 weeks. It's all going to, Russians are going to run. Well, Russians fortified. They dug in. They put the minefields miles long. They have drones now. They have all kinds of weapons. We gave them time to regroup. They've learned right away that it wasn't going to be easy. They thought it was going to be easy to walk in. But Ukrainian people took arms and started to defend themselves. Apparently, there was a mistake on the Russian miscalculation. But now they're very much know what's going on. They're prepared. So if, again, weapons, weapons, weapons. Ukrainians need weapons. And, in the beginning, President Biden said that no matter what, we would not get involved in this war. No matter, right away, no president ever says that. No matter what, we would never give it. Go ahead, kill, rape, burn, we're not going to get involved. No, this president shouldn't take that off the table right away. He should say all options are open.
So let me say right now that personally, I don't believe that Trump's victory will be bad for Ukraine because he's one who had provided us with a lethal weapon. I didn't forget about that. But how can he end the war in a few days? What argument does he have in negotiation with Putin to sign armistice agreement? What do you think?
Well, I think it's just a phrase. I love you. I love you to the next life forever. We'll be together for. What does forever mean? What is it? Into the next life. How do you know? I mean, there's just phrases people use. I'll kill you. Does really mean I'll kill you? No, it means I don't like what you're saying. There's a lot of these phrases we use. I think he's saying I'll end it very short. It will be very short. I'll bring it to an end. There are a few things that, again, this misrepresented. For one thing, he was saying in his speech, which was here cut out and misrepresented, taken out of context. It's horrible. It's just horrible. It's just such a harm to Ukraine they bring. It's bizarre. He said we shouldn't give money because, he's talking about against Nikki Haley. He's competing with her because Nikki Haley wants to give money to everyone. We shouldn't. We give money to a lot of countries. And then these countries turn around and they say, Yankee, go home, and they're against us. They go with our enemy. So he says, when we give money to Ukraine, we should make sure that we give them all this money, and then they start negotiating with the Russians. So he's actually saying he doesn't want to give money to Ukraine and then they start negotiating with the Russians. Saying, yes, we can lend the money, which means they'll have to pay us back. And Ukraine is now taking billions of dollars from World Bank, from International Monetary Fund. All this money is loaned to you. They're not given to you. But it's misrepresented here in Ukraine. And then say, yes, if some countries can't pay him back, we can forgive him. That he says that. He's saying it. But they can't go with the enemy. They can't negotiate with the enemy, saying they can't negotiate with the Russians. So everybody who's saying he wants to give out land, he's not the one that gave up Crimea. Biden and Obama did. He's not the one that ever gave any land to anyone. He never mentions that he would give, and then he says that first thing he will do is that he will allow getting oil and gas from the United States as he did before. And that way we became the largest exporters of gas and oil. What Biden did recently, he stopped sending gas to Europe. So the prices went up. So they continue buying it from the Russians. We're buying from because we're not developing. Our Pentagon is buying oil from Russians.
Oh.
So we're feeding that machine. This is what, when he was president, oil prices were very, very low. Why? Because we were developing our own oil industry and exporting oil. And he was good friends and had good relationship with Saudi Arabia. Biden has horrible relationships with Saudi Arabia. So what he's saying is that he'll bring the oil prices down right away. That's the first thing he will do. And that will he do it for Ukraine? No, he'll do it for the United States, but Ukraine will definitely benefit from it. So he's saying that way we will stop our enemies, Iran, Venezuela, and Russia. He mentions Russia as the enemy. So that is not shown here. And then he says, continues, when I was a president, but here in Ukraine, they presented it as though he's saying it when he will be president. No, he's saying, when I was a president, I went to NATO and I said, you're not paying in. You're not paying in. You're building Northern Stream. You know, he's addressing Merkel, of course. Northern Stream to make billions of dollars with Putin, and you're not paying in into the NATO. Out of 27 countries, 23 countries are not paying their share. So you expecting us all to pay for it? And I told them, we're not. I'm not going to defend you. We're not going to defend you. And one of the presidents asked, but if the Russians will attack us, will you not defend us? He says, are you paying your share? Are you paying 2%? She said, no. And I said, then I'm not going to defend you. No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell him he can go and do whatever he wants to. And this is all that was shown here in Ukraine, taken out of context, as though when he's a president, he's going to tell Putin to go and attack whoever he wants to. No, that's not what he said. And then he said, and that's when Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, came up to me and said, thank you very much. Now they all start paying into. So he built the NATO back up. He forced them all to pay that way. That was in the past. And he's saying this is how he made it work. Here, they took it out of context and saying, this is what he will do in the future. He'll tell them, Putin, go ahead and attack. That is so detrimental. This is criminal, I think, that he will lower the oil prices and Russian war machine will stop. It will come to the halt. That's what he's saying he'll do, number one. Then he says, I have good relationship. Well, what he says is, and it's misinterpreted in the United States. He says, I get along with Putin. I get along with Putin. Here they translate it, I like Putin, or I'm friends with Putin, or something like that. So the translation here is terrible. And I think it's done on purpose. When Biden calls Putin a puppet, they translate here as a puppy, and which is not derogatory in English. And here they translate it as shinok, which is derogatory in Ukrainian. I mean, who are these people who's doing this? This is crazy. It's showing this illiterate, embarrassing things for Ukrainian journalists. So in any event, he says, I get along with Putin. I'll put Putin in a room. I like Zelensky. He did well for me when the call was made. He says, no, there was no pressure. He's a good guy. I like him. He says, and I'll tell, again, it's misinterpreted here. And I'll tell Zelensky, make a deal. Make a deal. Here they translate, go negotiate. No, he didn't say negotiate. He says, make a deal. And then he says, I turn around to Putin, I'll tell him, take the deal. Take a deal. So how do you misinterpret saying, no, you negotiate to give up land? I have no idea, because it's completely opposite to what he's saying. And he says, but if you don't take a deal, if you don't go along with the deal, Putin, I will give this guy so much weapons, so many weapons, that you can't believe how many weapons I'll give. He said that 3 times. He explained that situation to reporters. Then, last time, when he was speaking at IPAC, he says, I'll give him so much money. So he says, not weapons, but money. I'll give him so much money. Meaning, I'll cut you and I'll give you nothing. So he's meaning he'll drop the oil prices and Putin will get no money. But here in Ukraine, it was all upside down. They translated it backwards. Why? What's the purpose of it? I have no idea. I call upon Ukrainians and Ukrainian authorities not to take sides, not to participate in our politics. First of all, if you want to participate in politics, you should know a little bit about it, at least a little bit, not Soviet type. Oh, today we have a Democrat president, let's dump a bucket of crap on the Republicans. Oh, tomorrow we have a Republican president, let's dump everything on the... No, it doesn't work. In the United States, presidents come and go. They change. Today, Republicans are in power, Democrats go into the opposition. Tomorrow, Democrats are in power, Republicans go into opposition. We change. What you do, if you want to participate, if you are interested in our politics, you should stay with the American people, with our Congress. We have a dual political system. I had an honor to work for great Democrats, friends of Israel, friends of Ukraine, friends of our way of life, of American values. I know some Democrats that are anti-Semites and anti-Ukrainians and just enemies of the United States. I know the squad, for example. I know Republicans that are total idiots, complete morons. We're not excluded. We don't have immunity in our Congress from morons, just like anybody else, just like Russians, just like Israeli Knesset, just like Ukrainians, Poles. They're always idiots everywhere. There are some Republicans that are just horrible people. I don't know who voted them in and why they're staying in there. And I know some Republicans that are just brilliant, just great people who want to help Ukraine, truly help, not just give out money. I mean, there are many different things in our politics. Don't take one side. It shouldn't be one-sided. And you shouldn't label somebody a Trumpist or a Trombonist or comic because, in Katyn, the Polish officers were not killed by the Nazis. They were killed by the KGB, by NKVD. So Hitler was saying the truth when they told him. He said, no, it wasn't us, it was the Soviets. So if I say, Hitler was telling, so does it mean I'm pro-Hitler? Does it mean I'm a Nazi? No, because I'm telling the truth. So when I say, no, Trump didn't say that, or you do get out of context, does it mean that I'm against Ukraine? No. But the truth is always best. If you lie to your people, if you try to confuse them, then you are no better than the Russians. A very advanced, very modern, very good community and country and a nation called Germany. But only in a few years, this Goethe people, these people that went through Renaissance, that had the most advanced society at the time, only in a few years, one guy convinced them that the professor at the university that taught them chemistry or medicine is the enemy. That the doctor that they went and their parents went to and they take their children to be treated is the enemy. That the singer and the violinist and the writer, that the books they have to burn is the enemy. If they were that the banker that they went to take a loan so they can develop and grow their business is the enemy. That the entire nation of people, that they have to be killed and destroyed because they're in it, and the whole nation believed in it. The whole nation went for it. I don't want the Ukrainians to do the same thing to their own people, convincing that half of America, or maybe even more than half of America, working America, is the enemy of the Ukrainians. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. On the contrary, most of the Ukrainian refugees and immigrants in the United States, most of the former Soviet immigrants like myself, are Republicans in the United States.
Okay, at the end, I want to make step back, and the last days rumors are circulating that Transnistria is going to ask to join Russia Federation, and is it great threat for Ukraine or for Moldova? Or what will they do? Block the border, or they use their Transnistria soldiers for starting the new offensive on the Odessa or on Moldova? What do you think from the military point of view, how they use this very small territory?
Well, we have to first establish that there's not Transnistrian people or Moldovan people asking to join the Russian Federation. It is the Russian Federation telling them to say that.
Yeah.
It is not their will. They're not free. They're not free to say anything. It is like occupied territories in Ukraine. All of a sudden they said, oh yeah, we're Russian. You know, some guys come out there and say, oh, we're Russian. Of course they're not. They're told to do. But if the Russians do that, again, it will not be recognized by anyone. So that exercise is bringing disturbance to the world order, which Russians already brought with Ukraine. Nobody will recognize Transnistria as an independent state, that they haven't in, 30 years. It is just criminal, black market, Gaza type of formation. The same thing will happen to occupied territories of Ukraine if they, they're not returned to Ukraine. Nobody will recognize them. Russians will never trust those people. They will always be at best, second-class citizens that will never, be allowed to do anything or hold any positions. It'll be apartheid type of formation. So Transnistria will be the same way. But the Russians, yes, they can use it as a base to attack Ukraine. And I do not believe they have the strength or the will at this point to attack Moldova, because they can't handle Ukraine. Ukraine is overwhelming them. But yes, it will be more in circulating of Odessa region, Black Sea region. So it's another disturbance. It's another chaos that the Russians bring into this world, which they're very good at. And we should be prepared. And the West should be prepared for it. The West should be prepared. Clearly, the West will never recognize Transnistria or part of Moldova as now. They can say, oh, there was a referendum. Referendums don't work like this. Just like they said there was a referendum in Crimea. It's not a referendum. A referendum is when they ask everybody, when they ask all Ukrainians, are you willing to let Crimea be part of Russia? More than that, they should ask all the Russians, are you willing to take Crimea as part of Russia? And if everybody agrees, that's a referendum. But if somebody doesn't agree to it, it's not a referendum. Otherwise, everybody will just break over. I mean, I don't know where your studio is located. Where are you located physically?
I'm located in Kyiv today. Personally,
oh, you're in Kyiv.
But the studio in Lviv, in Kyiv, anybody else?
No, I'm saying in Ukraine. So
Yeah.
we're going to your studio and say, okay, we pronounce the studio independent. You are president, your husband is a vice president, I'm Minister of Defense, and that's it. We voted on this building to be independent. And we have the structure, we have the program. Well, this room is a school, this room is a hospital, and that's it. And we don't pay taxes, and we put our own flag on top of the building, and we're not part of it. It doesn't work like that. We say, no, but there was a referendum on our building. No, it doesn't work like that. It's supposed to, you're supposed to ask everything. So Transnistria it may be a problem, for Ukraine and for Moldova. But then it may not be. It may become a problem for Russia, because now they dragged Moldova into this war. So, because Moldova doesn't want to recognize, the part of their territory is not Russia, like Crimea. So they will have to be more active against Russians and be more of a closer allies with Ukraine. And then, of course, Moldova is not indifferent to Romania. So Romania will start getting upset. Romania is NATO country, then NATO gonna start doing something, and go on and so forth,
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. I hope you join us next time too.